The massive silver ships pierced through Earth's clouds, their sleek forms casting long shadows over the cities below. People stopped in their tracks, cars screeched to a halt, and millions of faces turned skyward as humanity witnessed its first contact with an alien civilization. The vessels moved with an otherworldly grace, defying Earth's gravity as they positioned themselves above major cities worldwide. In New York, at the United Nations headquarters, Ambassador Jai Park stood at the observation deck, his hands clasped behind his back. His weathered face showed no fear, though his heart raced beneath his perfectly pressed suit. 25 years of diplomatic service hadn't prepared him for this moment. Nobody on Earth could have been prepared for this. "They're actually here," whispered his assistant, her voice trembling. The ships had been detected entering the solar system 3 days ago, and their arrival had thrown the world into a frenzy of preparation and panic. The largest ship, nearly 2 kilometers in length, descended toward the specially prepared landing zone in Central Park. Its surface rippled like liquid mercury in the morning sun. Military helicopters kept their distance, maintaining a watchful perimeter as ordered by the hastily formed First Contact Committee. Director Kim Soo-mai of the Pacific Alliance strode into the observation room, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "Ambassador Park, it's time. They're requesting to meet with Earth's representatives." Her voice was steady, but her knuckles were white as she gripped her tablet. The delegation made their way to the General Assembly Hall, which had been modified for this historic meeting. World leaders and top diplomats filled the room, their usual political differences temporarily set aside in the face of this momentous occasion. The alien representatives entered through the main doors, and a collective gasp filled the chamber. They were tall, far taller than humans, with bodies that seemed to be made of living crystal. Their movements were fluid, almost hypnotic, and their translucent skin caught and reflected light in rainbow patterns. High Counselor Merav, as their leader had identified themselves in earlier communications, stood nearly 3 meters tall. Their crystalline form towered over the human delegation, faceted eyes scanning the room with an unsettling intelligence. "Greetings, representatives of Earth." Merav's voice resonated through the hall, translated by devices they had provided. "We come as members of the Galactic Council, the governing body of civilized spacefaring species." Ambassador Park stepped forward, bowing slightly. "On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to Earth. We are honored by your presence and look forward to peaceful dialogue between our peoples." Merav's crystalline form shifted, creating a sound like wind chimes, the alien's equivalent of a laugh, the humans would later learn. "Yes, we have observed your world for some time. A curious place you have here. So much water." The aliens' mandibles clicked as they moved closer to the large wall-mounted screens showing Earth's geography. "How unfortunate that your civilization must develop on such limited terrain. Most advanced species we encounter have the benefit of vast continental masses for expansion." Director Kim's tablet creaked under her tightening grip, but she maintained her diplomatic smile. Around the room, other human representatives shifted uncomfortably. The condescension in Merav's tone was impossible to miss. "We have made the most of our available land." Director Kim replied carefully. "Our cities and technologies are well adapted to Earth's conditions." Yes, quite admirable for your level of development," Merav said, waving a crystalline appendage dismissively. "The Council has decided it's time to make contact with your species. You've achieved basic spaceflight, though your methods are primitive. We believe you might benefit from proper guidance." The alien delegation moved through the hall, their crystalline bodies creating dancing patterns of light on the walls. They seemed more interested in the architecture than the humans themselves, examining everything with what appeared to be scientific curiosity mixed with obvious disdain. "We have reviewed your historical records," another alien representative spoke up. "Your species spends much time and resources dealing with your waterlogged environment. Most civilized worlds have long since moved beyond such limitations." Ambassador Park felt his diplomatic training being tested to its limits. The alien's dismissive attitude was becoming harder to tolerate with each passing moment. He noticed similar tensions in his colleagues' faces, but they all maintained their composure. Perhaps, Park suggested carefully, you would be interested in learning more about how we've adapted to our environment. Earth's unique conditions have led to some fascinating developments in our technology and culture. Oh, we're sure they have, Marav responded, mandibles clicking rapidly in what the humans were beginning to recognize as amusement. But the Council is more interested in helping you overcome these limitations. With proper guidance, you might eventually develop into a properly spacefaring civilization. Director Kim stepped forward, her voice firm despite her carefully maintained smile. We appreciate the Council's interest in our development. However, I believe you'll find that humanity has many surprising capabilities that may not be immediately apparent. Indeed, Marav turned their faceted eyes toward her. We look forward to observing your progress. The Council has prepared a preliminary assessment of your world and species. We will be establishing a permanent diplomatic presence to begin your integration into galactic society. As the meeting continued, the human representatives exchanged glances. The aliens clearly saw Earth as nothing more than a backward, water-covered rock inhabited by a primitive species. Their condescension was becoming more apparent with each passing moment. Little did the Galactic Council know that beneath the waves they so casually dismissed, humanity had developed technologies and capabilities that would soon change their perception entirely. For now, though, Ambassador Park and his colleagues would maintain their diplomatic composure, knowing that time would reveal the truth about humanity's true potential. The first contact meeting concluded with the establishment of basic diplomatic protocols and the scheduling of future discussions. As the alien delegation departed, Director Kim turned to Ambassador Park and whispered, "They have no idea what they're dealing with, do they?" Park watched the crystalline beings leave, their forms shimmering in the afternoon light. "No," he replied quietly, "they don't. But they will." The deep ocean darkness pressed against the transparent walls of Mariana Research Station, broken only by the soft blue glow of bioluminescent creatures drifting past like living stars. At 8,000 meters below the surface, the pressure outside was enough to crush most submarines like empty soda cans, but inside, Dr. Lee Jin-ho worked comfortably at his holographic console. "Status report on the cloaking field," he asked, his fingers dancing through the floating displays. The advanced technology that kept their facility hidden from the Galactic Council's prying eyes was his life's work, and he checked it obsessively. Dr. Yoon Hye-yun looked up from her own station, her face illuminated by the soft blue light of her screens. "All systems nominal. The quantum diffusion field is maintaining 100% coverage. As far as our new alien friends are concerned, there's nothing down here but water and fish." Jin-ho allowed himself a small smile. The aliens had been on Earth for 3 weeks now, conducting their preliminary assessment of humanity's capabilities. Their ships had scanned the planet repeatedly, but they hadn't detected any of the massive underwater installations that humanity had built over the past 30 years. "Pull up the habitat network status," Jin-ho requested, and Hye-yun brought up a massive holographic globe. Dotted across the world's oceans were hundreds of points of light, each representing an underwater facility. Some were research stations like theirs. Others were full-sized cities housing millions of people. New Atlantis reports another successful expansion, Hye-yun noted, pointing to a cluster of lights in the Pacific. "They've completed the new residential dome. That's another 50,000 people who can live comfortably under the waves." A massive shape moved past their viewport, one of the deep-sea transport submarines that connected their underwater network. Its hull was made of the same transparent metamaterials as the station, allowing it to virtually disappear in the dark waters. These materials had been one of humanity's greatest breakthrough, allowing them to build structures that could withstand enormous pressure while remaining nearly invisible to detection. "The Council thinks we're limited by our oceans," Jin-ho said, shaking his head. "They have no idea that we've turned them into our greatest advantage." He pulled up another display, showing the latest data from their quantum computing labs. The extreme cold and pressure of the deep ocean provided perfect conditions for their most advanced computers. A soft chime alerted them to an incoming communication. "Message from Central Command," Hei-yun announced. "They're asking for an update on Project Leviathan." Jin-ho walked to another section of the lab, where a massive piece of machinery hummed quietly. It looked like a cross between a submarine engine and a star drive, but it was something entirely new. A propulsion system that used principles learned from deep-sea creatures to achieve incredible speeds both in water and space. "Tell them the final tests are proceeding as scheduled," he replied. "The biomimetic drive is showing even better results than we hoped. Those giant squid we studied weren't just inspiring. They were revolutionary." A school of fish with natural bioluminescence swam past the viewport, their lights creating patterns that seemed to dance in the darkness. Hei-yun watched them for a moment, reminded of why she had chosen to work in this underwater world. "I wonder what the council would say if they knew about this place," she mused. "About all our places down here." "They'd probably refuse to believe it at first," Jin-ho replied. "Their arrogance won't let them imagine that we could build something like this, a civilization that can create cities in space looking down on us, because we live on a waterlogged rock. They never stop to think about what we might have built under that water." Another submarine passed by, this one carrying materials for the expansion of a nearby mining facility. The deep ocean floor contained resources that the aliens hadn't even discovered yet, and humanity had spent decades learning how to extract them safely and efficiently. Director Kim sent a message earlier, Hei-yun mentioned, scrolling through her communications. "The council representatives are still being difficult at the surface negotiations. They're pushing for access to our military bases, trying to assess our defense capabilities." Jin-ho laughed softly. "Let them look at our surface installations all they want. Our real strength is down here, hidden in the depths they dismiss so easily." A warning light flashed on one of the displays, another alien scan passing overhead. They watched as their cloaking technology automatically adjusted, maintaining their perfect concealment. The alien ships could pass directly overhead and never know that millions of humans lived and worked beneath the waves. "New data coming in from the Pacific Deep Hub," Hei-yun announced. "The underwater quantum network is now operating at 115% of projected capacity. We're processing data faster than any computer system the Council has shown us." Jin-ho nodded with satisfaction. "Keep monitoring the test results. Soon enough, we'll show the galaxy what humanity has really achieved. But not yet. Let them keep underestimating us for now." The deep ocean darkness continued to press against their windows, but it wasn't threatening. For the humans who had learned to live and work in these depths, it was comforting, a shield that protected their greatest achievements from prying eyes. "Another message from Central Command," Hei-yun said suddenly. "They're moving up the timeline. They want Project Leviathan ready for demonstration within the month." Jin-ho looked out at the bioluminescent creatures drifting past their viewport, their natural lights providing a reminder of how much humanity had learned from Earth's oceans. "Tell them we'll be ready. It's almost time to show the Council that humanity isn't just surviving on this waterlogged rock. We're thriving here in ways they never imagined possible." The two scientists returned to their work, surrounded by technology that would soon change the galaxy's understanding of what humanity could achieve. Above them, alien ships continued their scans, never detecting the incredible developments happening in the depths below. For now, the oceans kept humanity's secrets safe, but soon they would reveal just how far humanity had come. The underwater research vessel, Deep Seeker, glided silently through the dark waters of the mid-Atlantic ridge. Commander Park Min-ki stood at the control center, his eyes fixed on the readings that flashed across the main screen. The ship's advanced sensors were detecting something unusual in the underwater mountain range below. "Are you seeing this?" he asked, gesturing to Dr. Song Ji, who was already examining the data with intense concentration. "These readings are off the charts," she replied. adjusting the sensors for a more detailed scan. The energy signatures are unlike anything we've recorded before. The Deep Seeker descended further into the darkness, its powerful lights illuminating the rocky formations of the underwater ridge. At this depth, the pressure was enormous, but the ship's advanced hull technology made it feel as comfortable as being on the surface. There, Min-Ki pointed to a glowing formation jutting out from the ridge. That's the source of the readings. The formation seemed to pulse with an inner light, its crystalline structure refracting the ship's beams in impossible ways. As they watched, more formations became visible, stretching along the ridge like a garden of glowing stones. "Begin sample collection," Min-Ki ordered, and the ship's robotic arms extended toward the nearest crystal formation. As they carefully extracted a sample, the crystal's glow intensified momentarily before returning to its steady pulse. GA examined the first sample through the ship's analysis chamber. Her eyes widened as the results appeared on her screen. This is impossible," she whispered, running the tests again. "These crystals, they're quantum-aligned in their natural state. The pressure and unique conditions here have created something we've only theorized about." Min-Ki moved to look at her findings. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" "These crystals could revolutionize space travel," Jai confirmed. "The quantum alignment is perfect for faster-than-light applications. Our oceans have been growing these for millions of years." Within hours, the discovery was reported to Earth's Unified Command. The implications were staggering. While the Galactic Council had been dismissing Earth's oceans as a limitation, they had actually been nature's laboratory, creating materials that even the most advanced alien civilizations couldn't synthesize. A week later, at the International Ocean Research Center, the Council's chief scientist, Dr. Xilara, was invited to examine the samples. Her crystalline form shimmered as she approached the analysis chamber, her species equivalent of eager anticipation. "You claim to have made an interesting discovery," she said, her translated voice carrying the usual hint of condescension. "Though I must admit, I'm skeptical of what could be found in such primitive conditions." Jai carefully placed a sample in the analysis chamber. "Please, examine it yourself," she said politely, stepping back to allow the alien scientist access to the equipment. Dr. Xilara began her analysis, her movements precise and methodical. Suddenly, she stopped. Her instruments clattered to the floor as she stared at the readings. "Impossible," she whispered, her crystalline form flickering with shock. "Your primitive oceans created what our most advanced synthesis chambers cannot." "Nature has had millions of years to perfect the process," Jai explained, unable to keep a small smile from her face. "The combination of extreme pressure, unique mineral compositions, and various deep-sea conditions created something quite remarkable. But this level of quantum alignment, it's perfect," Xilara continued, still staring at the readings. "We've been trying to achieve this in our laboratories for centuries, and you're saying these form naturally in your oceans." Min-Ki, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "The mid-Atlantic ridge is just one location. We found similar formations in other deep-sea trenches and ridges around the world." Xilara's crystalline form shimmered with what the humans had learned to recognize as agitation. "The Council must be informed immediately. This changes everything we thought we knew about your world." "Perhaps," Jai suggested gently, "it's time for the Council to reconsider its assessment of Earth's oceans." The alien scientist barely seemed to hear her, too absorbed in examining the crystal sample. The humans exchanged knowing looks. Their primitive environment had just given them a seat at the galactic table that no one could deny. Over the next few days, more Council scientists arrived to study the crystals. Each one had the same reaction of disbelief, followed by excitement. The materials they had struggled to create in their most advanced facilities were growing naturally in Earth's oceans. "We've already begun developing applications," Min-Ki explained to a group of alien scientists. "Our underwater research facilities have been studying these formations for years, though we didn't fully understand their potential until recently." The implications were clear. Earth's oceans, far from being a limitation, had provided humanity with a key to advanced space travel that other species had spent centuries trying to develop. The Council's dismissive attitude toward Earth was beginning to shift, replaced by a growing respect, and more than a little envy. As GA watched another group of alien scientists examine the crystals, she couldn't help but think about how wrong their initial assessment of Earth had been. The very environment they had mocked as primitive had given humanity an advantage that would change their position in the galaxy forever. Sometimes, she said quietly to Min-Ki, the most remarkable discoveries come from the places others overlook. Min-Ki nodded, watching the alien scientists continue their excited examination of the crystals. They're beginning to understand that now. And this is just the beginning of what our oceans have to offer. The discovery of the quantum crystalline formations marked a turning point in humanity's relationship with the Galactic Council. Earth's oceans, once dismissed as a hindrance to development, were now being recognized as one of humanity's greatest assets. The secrets hidden in the depths would soon reshape humanity's place among the stars. Admiral Kang Ta-Wan stood in the underwater command center of the Pacific Defense Station, his eyes fixed on the massive holographic display showing ocean currents and movement patterns. The alien probe was making its third attempt to penetrate deeper into Earth's waters, its sleek form cutting through the dark depths like a silver needle. "They're getting more aggressive," Lieutenant Nam Hai-Jin reported from her station, tracking the probe's movement. "This one is using some kind of advanced stealth technology. If we didn't have the quantum sensors, we might have missed it." The Admiral's expression remained stern as he watched the probe's path. It was heading straight for one of their hidden research facilities, just like the previous two attempts. The Council's curiosity about Earth's oceans had turned into something more dangerous after discovering the quantum crystals. "Distance to the perimeter?" he asked, his voice calm despite the tension in the room. 2 kilometers and closing fast," Hai-Jin answered. "They've modified their approach pattern based on their previous failures. They're learning." Around them, the command center hummed with activity. Dozens of operators monitored their stations, tracking not just the probe, but also the movements of every Council ship in Earth's orbit. The underwater command center was a marvel of human engineering, hidden beneath thousands of meters of water and protected by technologies that the Council didn't even know existed. "Sir, they're scanning with a new frequency," another officer reported. "They might be trying to detect the quantum barrier grid." The Admiral nodded slowly. The quantum barrier grid was one of humanity's most closely guarded secrets, a network of energy fields that could be activated throughout Earth's oceans at a moment's notice. Until now, they had only used its most basic functions to deter the probes. 1 kilometer to perimeter breach," Hai-Jin announced. "Request permission to activate defensive measures." The Admiral watched as the probe approached the invisible line they had drawn in the ocean. "Shall we demonstrate our capabilities, Lieutenant?" he asked, a hint of steel in his voice. "Yes, sir," Hai-Jin responded, her hand moving to the activation controls. Grid parameters set to full spectrum response. "Execute." Hai-Jin pressed her palm against the control panel. Throughout the ocean, thousands of hidden nodes activated simultaneously. Energy fields rippled through the water, visible only as slight distortions in the natural currents. The alien probe hit the barrier at full speed. For a moment, it seemed to freeze in place, caught in a web of quantum energy that made its advanced technology useless. Then, slowly, it began to drift backward, all its systems temporarily disabled by the defensive grid. "Direct hit," Hai-Jin reported with satisfaction. "The probe's systems are completely offline. They won't be getting any data from this attempt either." In the Galactic Council's orbital station, alarms began to sound. The Admiral could imagine their confusion and frustration as another probe failed to penetrate Earth's waters. Their sensors would be showing them something they had thought impossible: energy patterns that shouldn't exist in what they had dismissed as a primitive environment. "Sir, we're detecting multiple Council ships changing orbit," an officer announced. They appear to be moving to investigate the probe's last known position. Let them look, the Admiral said calmly. They won't find anything. Deactivate the grid, but maintain standby status. The energy fields faded away, leaving no trace of their existence. The disabled probe would eventually drift to the surface, where the Council could retrieve it, but its memory banks would be completely wiped by the quantum pulse. Message coming in from Earth Command, Hai-Jin said. The Council is demanding an explanation for what happened to their probe. Send them our standard response, the Admiral instructed. Remind them that unauthorized exploration of Earth's oceans is a violation of our treaty agreements. The tension in the command center remained high as they watched the Council ships scanning the area where their probe had failed. Their advanced sensors would tell them that something had stopped their probe, but they wouldn't be able to detect how it was done. They're sending another message, Hai-Jin reported. They're claiming we're using restricted technology and demanding an inspection of our ocean defense systems. The Admiral almost smiled. Inform them that our defensive capabilities are not subject to inspection under current agreements. If they have concerns, they can raise them through proper diplomatic channels. Sir, another officer called out, we're detecting increased activity in their orbital fleet. 5 more ships have just changed course to join the investigation. Let them search, the Admiral said confidently. Our oceans have kept our secrets safe for decades. They won't find anything we don't want them to find. The command center continued its vigilant watch as the Council ships scanned the waters below. Every few minutes, new demands for explanation came in, each more strongly worded than the last. The Council was not used to being denied access to anything they wanted to investigate. They're frustrated, Hai-Jin observed, watching the Council ships' erratic movement patterns. They've never encountered defensive technology they couldn't analyze before. That's because they've never dealt with a species that truly understood the potential of ocean environments, the Admiral replied. Their space-based technology, impressive as it is, has limitations they've never had to consider. As the hours passed, the Council's investigation grew more intense, but they found nothing. The quantum barrier grid remained invisible to their scans, its technology too advanced for even their sophisticated sensors to detect. Another probe detected launching from their main ship, Hai-Jin announced. They're really not giving up. The Admiral straightened his uniform and clasped his hands behind his back. Then we'll have to keep teaching them the same lesson until they learn it. Earth's oceans are not their playground, and humanity is not as primitive as they thought. The new probe descended toward the water, and the command center prepared for another demonstration of Earth's hidden capabilities. The Council was about to learn that underestimating humanity had been their greatest mistake. The great dome of New Atlantis rose from the ocean floor like a second moon, its transparent walls glowing with the light of a city housing over 3 million people. Chief Engineer Choi Do-Yun stood at the main airlock, watching as the alien delegation's transport submarine docked with practiced precision. Remember, she whispered to her assistant, they're expecting to see a primitive underwater research station. Let's show them what humanity can really do. The airlock cycled, and 5 members of the Galactic Council stepped through, their crystalline forms catching and refracting the city's lights. Their leader, Senior Inspector Valex, looked around with poorly concealed disdain. This is your underwater facility? Valex asked, mandibles clicking. We expected something more modest. Do-Yun smiled politely. This is just the entrance, Senior Inspector. Please, follow me. The tour of New Atlantis is about to begin. She led them to a transparent elevator that descended through the city's levels. The aliens pressed close to the glass as they passed residential districts, shopping centers, and parks filled with specially adapted underwater plants. Schools of fish swam past the city's protective barriers, their scales glittering in the artificial light. Impossible, one of the alien scientists muttered. The pressure at this depth should make such construction unfeasible. Our metamaterial technology allows us to distribute pressure evenly, Do-Yun explained. The entire city can withstand depths far greater than this. We have similar facilities in the Mariana Trench, nearly twice as deep. The elevator stopped at the industrial level, where massive machines work tirelessly on the ocean floor. Automated harvesters, each the size of a small building, gathered rare earth elements and other valuable minerals from the seabed. Our deep-sea mining operations extract more rare earth elements in a month than your orbital platforms do in a year, Du Yun said, gesturing to the harvesters. The ocean floor has provided us with resources we never dreamed of finding in space. The alien delegation watched in stunned silence as one of the harvesters deposited its load onto a conveyor system that disappeared into the city's processing facilities. Their earlier condescension had vanished, replaced by something that looked very much like worry. How long has this facility existed? Velix demanded. New Atlantis celebrated its 20th anniversary last year, Du Yun replied. It was our third underwater city, but it's become our largest. Currently, we have 15 similar facilities across Earth's oceans, housing approximately 40 million people in total. They moved through the industrial sector, passing refineries and manufacturing plants that operated with perfect efficiency in the deep-sea environment. The aliens' attention was particularly drawn to a facility where the quantum crystals were being processed. You've been developing all of this while we thought you were confined to the surface. Another alien asked, their crystalline form flickering with agitation. The oceans gave us room to expand and privacy to develop at our own pace, Du Yun explained. We've found that the deep-sea environment offers unique advantages for certain types of research and development. She led them to a massive window overlooking the quantum crystal beds they had cultivated near the city. The crystals grew in perfect formations, their natural bioluminescence creating patterns that danced through the water. We learned to farm them, she explained. The natural process takes millions of years, but we've accelerated it using techniques developed through studying deep-sea life. Our understanding of pressure-based chemistry has advanced considerably. The tour continued through research facilities, educational institutions, and cultural centers. Each new revelation seemed to further shock the alien delegation. Their waterlogged rock had turned out to be far more than they had imagined. And this is just one city? Velix asked, their voice carrying the note of disbelief. One of many, Du Yun confirmed. Each has its own specialties and focuses. New Atlantis primarily handles mining and quantum crystal research, while our Pacific facilities focus more on biological studies and energy production. They'd reached the city's central control room, where holographic displays showed the status of every system and structure in New Atlantis. The aliens watched as operators coordinated with other underwater cities, managing a complex network of facilities that spanned the globe's oceans. Your species has achieved all this without any guidance from the Council, one of the alien scientists observed. We may have underestimated the potential of oceanic development. Du Yun nodded politely. The oceans taught us patience and the need to adapt. Every challenge they presented led to new innovations, new ways of thinking about problems. As the tour concluded, she could see the profound effect it had had on the alien delegation. Their initial mockery of Earth's water-covered surface had been replaced by a new understanding of what humanity had accomplished beneath those waves. The Council will need to reassess many of its assumptions about Earth, Velix announced as they prepared to leave. Your achievements here are unprecedented in our experience. We look forward to sharing our knowledge, Du Yun replied diplomatically. Perhaps there are things we can learn from each other. As the alien delegation's submarine departed, Du Yun watched through the city's transparent walls as it disappeared into the dark water. New Atlantis continued its work around her, a testament to human ingenuity and determination. The aliens had come expecting to find primitive underwater shelters. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's limitation had become its greatest strength. The massive Ravager warships dropped out of hyperspace just beyond Earth's moon, their black hulls absorbing light like cosmic shadows. On the bridge of the submarine carrier Pacific Thunder, Captain Bak Yujin watched the enemy fleet's approach on the main tactical display. "They're moving into attack formation," reported Lieutenant Kim Min-soo from the tactical station. 15 capital ships, over 40 support vessels. They're not even trying to hide their intentions. Yujin nodded calmly. The Ravagers were notorious pirates who had broken away from the Galactic Council, preying on what they considered weaker civilizations. Earth's apparent lack of space-based defenses had made it seem like an easy target. "All hands to battle stations," Yujin ordered. "Begin emergency surface procedure." Throughout the massive vessel, klaxons sounded as crew members rushed to their posts. The Pacific Thunder had been waiting in the deep Pacific Ocean, hidden from the enemy sensors. Now, as it rose toward the surface, other vessels emerged from their underwater hiding places around the globe. "Enemy fleet is launching fighters," Min-soo announced. "They're starting their attack run." "Let them come," Yujin said quietly. "Activate quantum shielding as soon as we breach the surface. Launch all squadrons." The Pacific Thunder broke through the waves like a mountain rising from the sea. Its hull, designed to withstand the crushing pressures of the deep ocean, gleamed in the sunlight. Panels opened along its length, revealing launch bays filled with vessels that combined submarine and spacecraft technology. "All ships reporting ready," Communications Officer Park Dahi announced. "The Atlantic and Indian Ocean groups are in position." Yujin watched as the first wave of enemy fighters streaked through Earth's atmosphere. They were about to learn that humanity's underwater expertise had led to innovations they couldn't imagine. "Launch quantum torpedoes," he ordered. "Target their lead ships." The weapons, developed using principles learned from deep-sea pressure and the quantum crystals, shot from the Pacific Thunder's tubes. They moved through space with impossible agility, their quantum fields allowing them to partially exist in multiple locations at once. The Ravager shift shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, might as well have been tissue paper. The quantum torpedoes phased through their defenses and detonated inside their hulls. 3 capital ships erupted in silent explosions. "Enemy fleet is responding," Min-soo reported. "They're redirecting their fighters toward us." "Launch our interceptors," Yujin commanded. "Show them what Earth's defenders can do." Squadrons of hybrid vessels poured from the Pacific Thunder's launch bays. Their designs incorporated everything humanity had learned about moving through water and space. The pilots, trained in the crushing depths of Earth's oceans, handled the pressures of space combat with ease. The battle in Earth's orbit turned into chaos as the Ravager fighters encountered weapons and tactics they had never seen before. Abyssal pulse weapons, designed to function in extreme ocean pressures, proved devastatingly effective in space. The enemy's formations broke apart as Earth's defenders struck from unexpected angles. "Their command ship is trying to coordinate a counterattack," Dahi reported. "They're calling for reinforcements." "They won't arrive in time," Yujin said. "Launch the deep strike squadrons." From the oceans below, more vessels emerged. These were smaller, faster ships designed for close combat. They carried weapons based on deep-sea predators. Electromagnetic fields that could disable electronics, sonic weapons that could shatter hull plates, and quantum-tipped missiles that ignored conventional defenses. The Ravager fleet, already in disarray, found itself under attack from all directions. Their superior numbers meant nothing against technology they couldn't understand and tactics they couldn't counter. "Enemy fighters are retreating," Min-soo announced with satisfaction. "Their capital ships are trying to form a defensive sphere." "Target their command ship," Yujin ordered. "All vessels, prepare for synchronized quantum strike." The Pacific Thunder and its sister ships moved into position, their weapons charging with energy drawn from the quantum crystals. The Ravager command ship, a massive vessel that dwarfed everything around it, tried to raise additional shields. Fire. The combined strike hit the command ship like an artificial tsunami in space. Quantum fields disrupted its structure, while pressure weapons crushed its reinforced hull. The mighty vessel cracked apart, its destruction sending a clear message to any who would threaten Earth. "Remaining enemy ships are powering up their drives," Dahi reported. They're running. Yujin watched as the surviving Ravager vessels flowed into hyperspace, leaving their destroyed companions behind. The battle had lasted less than an hour, but it had changed everything. Send word to all commands, he ordered. Begin recovery operations, and inform Earth Command that the threat has been neutralized. As the adrenaline of battle faded, the crew of the Pacific Thunder began to realize what they had accomplished. Humanity's first major space battle had ended in a decisive victory, thanks to technology and tactics developed in Earth's oceans. Sir, Min Su said, looking up from his station, we're receiving messages from the Galactic Council. They're requesting information about our defense capabilities. Yujin smiled slightly. Tell them we'll be happy to discuss it at the next council meeting. I'm sure they have many questions about how we adapted our underwater technology for space warfare. The Pacific Thunder began its descent back into the ocean depths, leaving cleanup crews to deal with the debris in orbit. Earth had proven itself far more capable than anyone had expected, and the galaxy would never underestimate the power of a waterlogged rock again. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled with light reflecting off the crystalline architecture, as Dr. Im Seojun walked confidently to the central podium. 5 years had passed since the Ravager attack, and Earth's position in the galaxy had changed dramatically. Representatives from hundreds of worlds filled the chamber, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of galactic civilization. Many were from water-bearing worlds that had previously ignored their oceans, thinking them useless or limiting. Now they looked to Earth for guidance. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council, Seojun began, his voice carrying clearly through the vast space. 5 years ago, many of you viewed Earth as a primitive world limited by its oceans. Today, I stand before you as the head of the Council's new Oceanic Development Division. The chamber remained silent, a marked difference from the whispers and clicks of dismissal that had greeted Earth's first representatives. On the main display behind him, images of Earth's underwater cities and technologies appeared in stunning detail. In the past year alone, we have helped 15 worlds begin their own underwater development programs, he continued. The results have exceeded even our most optimistic predictions. The display showed the new underwater city on Proxima B, built with Earth's guidance. Its design incorporated both human ingenuity and local alien architecture, creating something entirely new. Similar projects were underway on dozens of worlds. Our expertise in pressure-resistant materials has revolutionized spacecraft design, Seojun explained. Ships based on our deep-sea technology can now explore gas giants and other high-pressure environments that were previously inaccessible. Several council members nodded in agreement. The exploration of Jupiter's depths by Earth-designed vessels had revealed resources that had transformed the solar system's economy. Similar discoveries were being made throughout the galaxy. But perhaps our most significant contribution has been the application of quantum crystal technology, he continued. Thanks to the unique conditions in Earth's oceans, we have refined the growth process to work in various aquatic environments across the galaxy. The display shifted to show the new quantum crystal farms on water worlds throughout Council space. What had once been seen as useless oceans were now producing materials crucial for advanced space travel and computing. Admiral Kang Ta-won, now Earth's military liaison to the Council, stood at attention near the chamber's entrance. The defensive technologies developed for Earth's oceans had become the new standard for planetary protection. The Ravager's defeat had shown the galaxy the power of adapting to challenging environments. We offer our expertise to any world seeking to develop their aquatic resources, Seojun announced. Earth's oceans taught us that the most challenging environments often hold the greatest opportunities. Whether your world has vast oceans or modest seas, we stand ready to help you unlock their potential. The chamber erupted in appreciative sounds from various species. Worlds that had once looked down on Earth now sought its guidance and partnership. The waterlogged rock had become a beacon of innovation. Furthermore, Seojun continued, We are establishing the Galactic Oceanic Research Institute. This facility will bring together scientists from all member worlds to explore new applications of underwater technology. The announcement was met with enthusiastic approval. The institute would be built in New Atlantis, Earth's largest underwater city, which had become a symbol of what could be achieved beneath the waves. Chief Engineer Choi Do-yun, watching from her seat in the Earth delegation, smiled as she remembered the aliens' first tour of New Atlantis. Their shock at human achievements had given way to genuine admiration and eagerness to learn. As we look to the future, Seo-jun concluded, we see endless possibilities in the waters of our worlds. What was once seen as a limitation has become the gateway to technologies and discoveries we are only beginning to understand. The council chamber, where mockery had once greeted Earth's representatives, now filled with respect and appreciation. Humanity had not just survived in its challenging environment, it had thrived and grown stronger because of it. As Seo-jun returned to his seat, now prominently placed among the council's most respected members, he exchanged glances with his fellow Earth representatives. They had transformed their world's greatest perceived weakness into its greatest strength, and in doing so, had changed the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The next speaker, a representative from a water-rich world that had recently begun its own underwater development program, approached the podium. As they began to share their success story, Seo-jun reflected on how far humanity had come. The oceans that had once seemed to limit them had instead launched them into a position of galactic leadership. Earth's story had become a lesson for the entire galaxy. No environment was truly limiting if you had the vision and determination to adapt and grow. The future would be shaped not by those who feared challenges, but by those who embraced them and learned from them. In the great chamber of the Galactic Council, where Earth had once been dismissed as a primitive water world, humanity's triumph stood as a testament to the power of turning adversity into advantage. The galaxy would never be the same, and that change had begun in the depths of Earth's oceans.